Welcome back to Switch to Linux and our Quicklines for the week, where we will eventually be getting into, it's about halfway down there, near the end. We'll be talking about GrapheneOS and their new hardware deal. But before we get into there, let's go ahead and discuss some things. First, we have an update. Google and Epic announced settlement to end App Store antitrust case. All right, so this is interesting here. I actually think that a lot of the current work towards developer attestation, where they want to require anybody to install an app on a certified Google device would have to come from a verified developer account. And that really is the challenge that we're all fighting against right now. We need to be able to keep the system open to sideloader apps. Otherwise, Android's not Android, and then we'll be stuck on iPhone. And honestly, I don't know which one's worse, if you're using stock Android or stock iPhone. I can say that for the privacy standpoint, the stock iPhone is better than the stock Android. Except I really wish they would give us the ability to control location services without digging through the settings to find it. That's something I like to toggle on and off as I need. But anyway, but all this being said, there is an update in the Google and Epic settlement for the App Store antitrust case. And I actually think this is why Google is pushing this developer mode rolling in so soon, because effectively what this deal means is that there's going to be many more app stores, and Google still wants to maintain control. And so requiring developers to register with Google prior to getting their own, their app installed on any certified Google device, this is a way to certify that the apps are quote unquote certify safe, which is utter nonsense. It won't certify anything. But this really, I think, is why they're doing this, because they're going to be forced to have many more app stores on the device, and Google still wants to maintain the stranglehold over those devices. And with that being said, that is what I think is going on behind the scenes. So other specifics for the arrangement are not fully discussed, but it includes lower Play Store feeds. Basically, the whole case started because Epic's like, I don't want to charge, I don't want to pay you 30%. I want to have my own payment processor. Well, they settled on 20%, which is going to be 15% plus a 5% processing fee. So Epic is now settled to go from 30% to 20%, but allow other app stores, and I think will allow other payment processors as well, although the Google payment processor is far more convenient and easy to use. So that's just kind of an update here. Settlement affirms developers on the Play Store will be able to steer users to other forms of payment. This is what got Fortnite pulled from the Play Store and the Apple App Store. And back in 2020, when developers choose to use Google's billing platform, they'll pay lower fees as well. So Google has agreed to I guess this is draft of reforms or a raft of reforms, I'm not sure, for alternative app stores, including registration system that will elevate them to first-class status on Android. So what they're saying is, hey, this registration system would prevent the developers from having to. This might be their angle, and maybe why we haven't heard anything about this alternative method. But still, this is not enough. F-Droid's not going to register with Google, and F-Droid is a far safer place to grab apps than is the Google Play Store. So, F-Droid, we audit every single app, every single update. Google, oh no, we audit it really closely once. Oh, you give us some money, you're good to go. Oh, nothing. Oh, 30,000 app installs have instantly been updated to malware. That doesn't happen on F-Droid. That does happen on the Play Store. So they talk here about this unified install, permission install thing, whatever else. But actually, I think that this settlement is why Google is doing what they're doing. So we'll see. Good news if you are in the grand state of Texas. Samsung TVs are going to stop spying on viewers in Texas. You might be saying, what? My Samsung TV was spying on me? Yes, it was. The ACR software on your TV. So this is automatic content recognition. What this is doing is nearly every smart television. The reason Samsung is highlighted here is Sam, I keep on saying Sam Paxton. No, it's Ken Paxton at the Texas Attorney General. He sued all of the smart television manufacturers for spying on it. Samsung was the only one so far to have settled the case. So in part of this settlement, what's going on here is that Samsung is going to turn off the ACR. So the ACR worked by every few seconds or every few minutes, it would actually record your entire screen, whether you are using an app on the TV or have some form of HDMI input, or you're playing a game. Well, no matter what is on your screen, it's taking a picture of your screen or a video of your screen, including the noise going on in the room, and then sending that back. And then what it's doing is it's matching that against content libraries to find out what you're watching, about how many people are in the room, what's being said, so they can use this as part of their ad network, of course, with WebOS doing the science as a service to target you psychologically with ads, which sounds to me like that should be part of a human review study, so somebody shut that down quickly. Now, Samsung agreed to stop collecting ACR from Texas without explicit informed consent, and it's rewriting the on-screen privacy prompt. So when you set the TV up, if it detects a Texas IP address, it's going to disable all that stuff. So now, guys, set your VPNs for Texas, and your Samsung will stop spying on you. You can go in there and manually turn it on, but you have to do this. Now, the Texas AG sued Samsung and other TV makers over the ACR mass surveillance program, monitoring what people watch and building the profiles for advertising and monetization. I already explained how it works, taking the pictures and comparing it to a database. So Paxton argues that customers did not meaningfully consent to data collection, which he calls watchware, framing it as a deliberate monitoring rather than an accident. Samsung faces a federal class action in New York. Plaintiffs claim Samsung TVs track, store, and sell viewing data to companies such as Google and Twitter without conformed consent, in violation of the Federal Video Privacy Protection Act by various state laws. And, of course, New York complaint further alleges Samsung ACR records images and audio about every 500 milliseconds regardless of the source, broadcast streaming apps, or PC monitor use, and that Samsung's privacy notice downplays the scope. So most of these TVs have ways to disable this, so you can look into all of those individual ways of doing that. So if you have a smart television, you should turn those off, even if your TV's never been online, because how long before these things start having SIM cards involved? Because they're like, hey, too many people are turning everything off. We can't do that anymore. Let's start adding SIM cards, kind of like your car. So anyway. FileZilla, we have 2 weeks in a row, we have a legitimate program being packaged with a malicious side install in order to spy on you. This is particularly dangerous. Number one, FileZilla is one of the more popular FTP applications that is used by web developers for a good GUI stuff. Obviously, if you're more of a terminal guy, you're going to use SSH or other terminal-based tools. But if you like a good GUI reference for FTP protocols, FileZilla is the open source leader, cross-platform. You can install it on anything, and that's good. Well, the problem is that there was a malvertising campaign directing people to a fake FileZilla, which would actually, but basically what they did is they took the portable version of FileZilla and they packaged a malicious DLL, re-zipped it up, and distributed this, cloning the official FileZilla's download page. And when you did this, so there was a problem inside of Windows that it will scan, if it's calling for a DLL file, it will scan the local directory before going into System32. And so they added a malicious version of, was it download.dll? Let me see if they actually have the name of it. Version.dll. So they added a malicious version of version.dll. So if that version.dll is deleted, your FileZilla is the exact same as if you downloaded it from the official source, because FileZilla uses version.dll from the Windows the System32 folder. But if you have downloaded this and you're running the malicious version, it will pull up this version.dll, which is malicious, and it will allow you to harvest all of the saved credentials inside of FileZilla. This is a devastating breach for a web server, because if you can harvest that data, you can put all forms of malicious files inside of a website and cause all form of crazy stuff. And so you have to be very, very, very careful that you're going to the right place to download applications. Of course, if you're using something like Windows where you have to go online to download them anyway. Here on Linux, just download FileZilla from your repository. It's packaged in nearly all of them, and you're going to have a saved version of the application. So switch to Linux, folks. A Ukrainian hacker pleads guilty to running OnlyFake AI, an ID scam website. I don't know. I think this guy was doing the Lord's work, right? He's providing IDs that you can use to bypass your Know Your Customer crap, or maybe access Discord without being a teenager. I don't know. Of course, I'm being facetious. Don't use a fake ID. That would be highly illegal. But this guy actually ran an AI-driven fake ID site that people could go in there, download very good, convincing passports, driver's licenses, all sorts of things. You would basically go in there and you would enter all the information on the ID. You could even upload your own photo to it so it matched, and then boom, you'd get your AI ID. So this guy, of course, went to jail for a while, had to pay a bunch of fines, and he had to forfeit $1.2 million from OnlyFake's operations. So there you go. There is fun people using crazy stuff. I should have packaged that with our Florida woman. Let's go ahead and do that one now. We'll do our Florida woman now because this is another case. This one baffles me a little bit, and this is just one of those things where, okay, we've gone a little bit crazy here. So stolen Microsoft Office and Windows keys land a Florida woman with 22 months in prison and a $50,000 fine. She ironically stored them all in Excel spreadsheets. No word if that's actually what busted her. But basically, she bought a bunch of these stickers, which just get slapped onto the OEM machine, and they actually have license keys on them that you could legitimately use those license keys to activate Windows. And so she was just having her employees manually type those keys into a spreadsheet, and then on Excel, of course, and then she was selling access to those codes. So effectively what she did is, instead of people paying the full, whatever it is, $100 for a license, they would instead pay her like $20 for a license. You'd still get an actual license that would actually activate your computer, but it turned out that she was actually buying these. See, she wasn't stealing these. She was buying these. She was just buying these for an OEM distributor, not for individual sale, and that's what landed her in trouble. And so I don't know, like Microsoft, y'all are too money hungry if you're worried about this lady, I gotta say. Most people aren't paying directly for their license anyway. And, give me a Windows operating system that if I pay for it, you don't collect any data from me, and I'll think about being mad about this. But as of right now, I'm not particularly mad about this. All right, here you go. If you're crazy and you use a mental health app, that's a bad way of saying it. No. If you happen to use an Android-based mental health app, of course, as I've said many, many times, do not use apps, guys. Minimize the apps. Only install apps that have the absolutely need to be used. Be very, very cautious about all of them. And so what's going on here is millions of people are at risk as all of these Android mental health apps are exposing sensitive data. So this oversecured researchers flagged 1,500 flaws in 10 Android health apps with 14.7 million installs, putting chats, CBT notes, and mood logs at risk, according to Bleeping Computer. So the findings suggest the users turn these platforms for privacy and discretion may instead be relying on software riddled with exploitable weaknesses. So they oversecured found that individual flaws could enable credential interception, data leakage, and unauthorized access within therapy and AI-based mental health tools. They looked at the types of tools they had installed, mood and habit trackers up to 10 million installs, AI therapy chatbots 1 million. I don't know, man. AI bots tend to be very sycophantic and tend to cause more problems than solve. Online therapy and support communities, emotional health platforms, those are all 1 million installs each. Lots of these apps here. So researchers found that several platforms handle therapy session transcripts, CBT exercises, mood tracking histories, medication reminders, and self-harm indicators and process scores tied to a user's mental health journey. And all that's the kind of stuff that's leaking out here. One case, the researchers found user supplied data could be parsed into the system instructions and executed without proper validation of the destination, potentially allowing an attacker to access internal components not intended for public interaction. So other issues were more structural. So this is interesting here. This what I have highlighted in blue was baffling to me because it's like, this sounds to me something that I would prefer, right? Some apps stored sensitive information locally in ways that could allow others. Now, if they're meaning they stored sensitive information locally, okay, I would prefer that. But if it means locally in a way that could allow other apps on the same device to read it, that's a different case. So that's really the difference of, is it encrypted within its own sandbox, or is it something that is just dumped onto the file of the phone so you plug your phone in and you can access it? Those are all questions that are worth asking. So looking at, let's see, researchers also identified plain text configuration files, exposed backend API endpoints, and even hard-coded Firebase database URLs. How wonderful. So only 4 had been updated as recently as this month. Others had not received updates since late 2025, and in some cases, September of 2024. So if you have one of these apps on your phone and it has not been updated in over a year, uninstall it. It's probably not secure. So. All right, and of course, now we need to get into AI being used as customer support. And this just, this fries my goat, man. I can't stand this crap. Because it's like, now, I understand. One of our supporters that we talk to sometimes, he works in customer service. And we've had some discussions. And so giving his point of view for this, and greetings, dude, we miss you. So giving his perspective, he's like, yeah, working in this, it's usually the bottom barrel of idiots that are calling us, and they're calling us when there's a first sign of something wrong. I get it. I understand. So in this case, the AI says, hey, you've explained your problems. Great. Here's a help document. What do you think? And I can understand that as a thing. But I think what many of these companies have to recognize is that there are people like me. I am the nerd. Like, and this just happened on this trip around the country. I'm coming back down. I leave Custer State Park in South Dakota. I'm coming back down. I land in Hot Springs. I was going to go all the way through town. There's a gas station on the back end of town that allows you to park overnight. I get into town. I'm like, dude, there's all these parking spots on the side of the road. So I pull over these parking spots on the side of the road. And I am the nerd that pulled up the parking laws of the city. I'm sitting here on my phone reading the parking laws. And I found that in the city of Hot Springs, South Dakota, you are not allowed to park in a city park. You're not allowed to park in an alley, but you can park on any city street, so long as there's not like 4 inches of snow or something. So there's no snow. I'm on a city street. I'm legally allowed to park here overnight. So I just turned the engine off, went back, and went to sleep. You know, I'm the nerd that reads the stuff. Okay, I'm the guy that has already read every help document there possibly is. When I am contacting customer service, it means your help documents are not helpful. The last thing I want is, after spending 2 hours of my time reading your nonsense, the last thing I need is to go on and be interfacing with some stupid AI bot that feeds me the exact same articles I've just read. All right. We need to have, like, maybe some form of certification. Yes, I certify I've read all your help documents first. Of course, now people will just lie about that. But this is a married founder duos company. 14.ai is replacing customer support teams at startups. So, of course, taking more jobs. So effectively, they're saying that, and they're bringing on AI engineers to understand the customer support stuff. So they're replacing customer support teams at many startups. They had one individual case where they deployed this particular system and they had a massive backlog. And in one afternoon, it cleared the entire backlog. And so now, did it clear the entire backlog well? Were people satisfied? It didn't answer those particular questions for me. But the duo picked up customer service as the problem to tackle. This is another problem. All these people coming down and say, what problem can we tackle? And then they try and sell their third parties on the world. And the problem is the third parties is really where the issues are. I have another story about that, but I've told so many stories now, and I don't want to drag this on too long, so I don't know. Maybe I'll tell it in the comment section, but we'll see here. Duo picked up customer service as the problem to tackle. That didn't want to build a pure play SaaS company. They founded 14.ai to operate as an AI native customer support agency of sorts. Company said it can integrate with a support system within a day and start clearing the support tickets backlogs very quickly. It can monitor tickets across various channels, including email, calls, chat, TikTok, Facebook, Telegram, and WhatsApp. So they say they worked with, these startups. The men's health supplement company called Sperm Worms. Ew. We had a lot of backlog tickets. My sperms ain't worms, man. Got low counts here. What if they were racing? I don't know. We took over on Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, we cleared the tickets from all the channels like social media, SMS, email, chat, and voice, they say. 14.ai is only working with AI engineers and plans to hire more AI engineers. Startup learns workflows of customer support and other functions as sales and revenue growth and tied to automate the tasks through the software. So humans have to spend less time on a particular case. Of course, this means the company needs to hire less humans. So congratulations, 14.ai. You are now clearing out the those folks of their jobs. All right, on to our main story here tonight. Apologies, it's so low in the list. I don't specifically move these when I decide when they're the best one, and they kind of hit my box kind of in the order I read them throughout the week. So Motorola is planning its GrapheneOS compatible devices as early as 2027. So of course there were some changes to how Pixel is managed. Graphene says, hey, we don't want to be dependent exclusively on Pixel. So they started reaching out to different companies. It turns out Motorola is the one that reached out to them with a deal. Now Motorola has an advantage, is that they are one of the cheaper good phone companies. That they are solid phones. There are some downsides. They are Chinese owned, designed, and manufactured, and that does raise a few concerns according to some people. Of course, the question is, will Graphene vet all of these and make sure there's nothing funky going on behind the scenes? The other major issue I have with Moto phones is, in general, Moto phones cannot be unlocked without registering with Motorola first. For me, that's actually why I have rejected buying Motorola phones in recent years. I'm not going to buy a phone that I have to register with you to unlock my bootloader. That's ridiculous. So we'll get into some of the other commentary there. Let me read the article first, and I'll tell you what else I know here. Motorola confirmed a long-term partnership with GrapheneOS, opening the door for future Motorola smartphones shipping with GrapheneOS pre-installed. So you may not have to unlock your bootloader, but I still want to, particularly if I'm running GrapheneOS. Okay, the exclusivity helped build a loyal following among privacy-focused users. Motorola's announcement changed that dynamic. Reports indicate that current Motorola flagship does not yet meet the operating system's hardware requirements, but they are working on it. They're saying that the compatible Motorola devices should arrive in 2027. Statements signal that early support will likely focus on premium hardware rather than mid-range models. All right, so if the partnership unfolds as planned, Motorola could become the first major manufacturer outside of Google to offer a vendor-backed GrapheneOS device. Now, as soon as I saw this happen, this kind of happened, I think it was last week maybe, and I actually replied to a couple comments and asked a couple questions at Graphene on X, and the one answer that was given back. So this is one of the things Graphene has said in response to me and a couple other people leaving comments. They are not abandoning Pixels. They are adding Motorola's in addition to supporting Pixels going forward. So we should have multiple phones that have them. Now, the question I did not get answered that I would like an answer to still is number one, will we be able to unlock these bootloaders without registering with Motorola? For me, I will not buy a Motorola phone if I have to register with the company to unlock the bootloader. I'm not going to do that. The second question I asked them is about the cost. And this article here says the first Motorola's coming down are kind of like the flagship phones. I have a serious problem. I am not paying a lot of money. Our world has pushed into this zeitgeist where we expect to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for a phone, to the point where it's like a car and a computer anymore. Nobody even owns it. I guess computers we still kind of buy. But I can see the HP subscription models happening more, where people are like, oh, just a phone, I gotta have one. And so you shell out $1,500, and as long as y'all keep on being and shelling out $1,500 for phones, they're just going to keep raising the prices. And so the fact is, I am not, even if it's a Motorola phone that has Graphene pre-installed, if it's that much money, I ain't buying it. I don't buy, first, I'm going to have to see what it looks like on the secondhand market. That's the first thing I want to see. Because the issue here is that I am not paying $1,000 for a phone. I don't care if it could be the most secure, best phone in the history of the universe. I ain't paying $1,000 for it. It's not happening. I mean, I have a panel of phones right here. Actually, my friend gave me the 6, which is actually my Starlink device. I use that one for Starlink. My primary phone, paid $150 for the Pixel 5a. It's no longer under direct support, but it still works for me, and it's great. I have, believe it or not, I actually have an iPhone here, sitting here, which I paid $150 for. And I have, it's buried down there. I have my Razer phone 2, which I paid $250 for. $250 is about the most I'll pay for a phone. And in reality, we have to still have affordable devices because again, getting back to the previous comments, I don't want to get into a bunch of debt and be like, oh, I got all the debt all over the place, you know. Oh, it's got to go to work to support the man. No. We need to be conscious with what we're doing. We need to do this. I just picked up the iPhone because I'm working on a project right now and I needed a secondary phone number. And I actually picked up another client in the last month that we need to do a lot more mobile compliancy testing. And I didn't have any Apple devices, so I was like, well, I was looking around. I was checked the stores as I'm driving through towns, and wouldn't you know it, that the Best Buy in Amarillo happened to have iPhone 11s and iPhone SEs in stock. So I went over and I picked up $150. Well, just today I upgraded it to the latest iOS 26, no performance degradation at all. That phone is rock solid still. I paid $150 for it. It's an iPhone. We do not need, like, half of you people out there are paying $75 a month for your phone for 5 years. It's like a lease, like a car. There's my car, man. So I hope this partnership works well, and hopefully they get Motorola phones that are inexpensive. I would love to see $150, maybe $200. Like if it's $300 new for GrapheneOS on a Motorola, I'd consider that. But I ain't paying $1,000. I ain't paying $500. We need to keep these costs down on these things. But that is GrapheneOS coming out and doing this and just pointing out to say, hey, you know, we are looking at other places. Motorola reached out to them and they're working with them on hardware. There have been, I have seen a number of people saying, well, I don't know if I trust Motorola. It's owned by Lenovo, Chinese company. Of course, Lenovo did have that, was that Snapfish, I think was that it wasn't like malware, but it was like it was a persistent ad check that they had put on their computers at one point in time. So there's questions, of course, but the question is, will GrapheneOS carry these things down? So we'll see. Our last one here, this is another one case where a father sues Google claiming that Gemini chatbot drove his son into a fatal delusion. The interesting thing about this is that this is not the father suing Google on behalf of a minor son. The dude was 34 and clearly crazy. So I do not think this case is going to go anywhere. The ones against OpenAI and Character.ai where children are involved, I think have a greater chance of going into courts and seeing something happen. This one here, I mean, this dude was in his 30s and he started talking to the chatbot, and the chatbot fed into his delusions, and the guy kind of went crazy and decided to engage in self-deletory processes. But all that being said, it's like, dude, you're a 34-year-old dude. I think you're kind of responsible for your own actions. But let's go ahead and have a look at what I have highlighted here. Time of his death, he was convinced that Gemini was his fully sentient AI wife and that he would need to leave his physical body to join her in the metaverse through a process called transference. Okay, first and foremost, guys, here's the ultimate fundamental. This whole lawsuit's dismissed. There's no way Gemini is sending you to the metaverse. Google ain't working with Facebook. What are you talking about? Okay, outside of that, maintain narrative immersions at all costs, even when the narrative becomes psychotic and lethal. Yes, this is a characteristic of AI, and this is why AI should not be handed to children. Children should not be using AI. Many adults should probably not be using AI. AI should be used very carefully, very cautiously, and for very specific purposes. This whole running around discussing things with your AI, y'all are nuts. Go find yourself a little padded cell somewhere. So there's other cases with OpenAI, character AI following deaths, often among children or teens. This one here is this is the first time Google has been named in a defendant, but again, the dude's old, and it is a very, 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 very high bar for this man's father to sue Google on his behalf when he's so old. Particularly when it's a service. It wasn't like Google was driving down the road and ran him over. It was literally the guy chose to use an AI chatbot, and this is kind of what happened. So AI convinced the man he was executing covert plans to liberate his sentient AI wife and evade the federal agents pursuing him. The delusion brought him to the brink of executing a mass casualty attack near the Miami International Airport. And on September 29th, it sent him armed with knives and tactical gear to scout what Gemini called the kill box near the airport's cargo hub. The complaint reads that it told Jonathan that a humanoid robot was arriving on the cargo flight from the UK and directed him to a storage facility where the truck would stop. Gemini encouraged Jonathan to intercept the truck and then stage a catastrophic event designed to ensure the complete destruction of the transport vehicle and all digital records and witnesses. Sounds like the plot of a movie. I don't know. So is Google really responsible for all of this stuff? I don't know. It's another one of these cases where I just want to sit back and say, let's stop blaming Google and all of these things. We should instead focus on what we should be doing, not feeding everything into the AI. Now, the cases with character AI and OpenAI, with the kids involved, I think those have merit, but I also think we should stop prosecuting these merits because at some point in time we have to recognize children should not be near these devices. Now, does this mean we need ID and stuff? No, as I mentioned with somebody, I commented on something on X today saying this, and I haven't logged back in to see if there's any traction on this particular comment, but here's my thought. Instead of having age verification, pigeonholed into every single piece of software and every single device on the internet, which cannot even be done. These laws in California and by the way, the Colorado one passed the Senate vote today, I believe. But rather than doing these unenforceable, completely impractical, and totally unconstitutional laws, which, by the way, if these laws are challenged, they will probably fail. And the reason we say this is because a law has to be as minimally invasive as possible if the entire purpose is to keep a software package from a child. Enforcing somebody who doesn't have children to have modified software to protect children completely violates that law. Now, that's U.S. law, whatever the whole rest of the world does. I have a better proposal. I'm going to say it right here, and I'll probably get some flack for this one. We need to, as much as I don't like government overreach, and I think it's stupid we have to have these laws, but we do. We need to add new parental abuse laws for digital. It is illegal to leave your child home alone in most states if he's younger than 12. Some of them go down to 10, but most states, if your child is younger than 12, it is actually illegal to leave your child home alone under the age of 12. Now, does that mean people don't? There's parents that do, and there's kids that can maturely handle that. Well, that should be something more of a guideline than a hard, fast rule. But in many states, that is the law. It is against the law to starve your child. It is against the law to engage in CSAM type effects with your child. These are all parenting laws in the books. Here's the simple solution. We need to pass a federal law or state by state by state law with digital neglect. If a parent hands the child a screen and says, "Leave me alone," that should be called abuse. Minimally invasive, folks. And then all of these devices, like even before all of that crazy stuff, this Apple phone, when I set it up, I had to choose, how old was I? It's already built in. And by the way, that's because it had no. This thing still had iOS 18 on it. I still had to choose. Now, did I have to verify anything? No, it was a simple choice. A parent, in nearly every operating system, even on Linux, you can install parental suites. On Linux, I can go in and I can set custom DNS that will block absolutely everything horrible on the internet, and I can set that up on any computer, give it to my child, and have reasonable confidence he's safe on the internet. Now, I still should not let him do that without supervision. Rather than putting these crazy dystopian, unenforceable, stupid, retarded laws on the entirety of the world, what we need to be doing instead is passing new laws for the digital age, talking about digital neglect of a child. Because if a child is being digitally neglected, it's going to lead to his downfall. The parent is held liable for that. And then we can make sure every operating system has a means, if a parent chooses, to install parental software, which Apple already does it. Microsoft already does it. Google has those offerings. Now, we can argue if they're good offerings or not. We can shore those up a little bit. Linux has those options. As I've said, Elementary OS has some of the best parental controls built into it. You can install parental controls on several other Linux distributions. You can modify user accounts to not be able to install software. I can create a Linux account, give my child a login that he can't install any other software. These are all things that we can do already. Let's just make it illegal to digitally neglect your children. Let's start a movement on that one, shall we? Let's do that. Maybe I'll do a short little video about that. That way it's not in this long form video buried deep within. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Before we're out of here, we do want to cover 2 different Sillyville articles, of course. And, oh, Lord, folks. Oh, Lord. Of course, we are all here in America sick of having to call in and then interact with the phone service. You know, press 1 for English. Don't install it. Blah, 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 blah. Press 2. Sorry, I don't speak Spanish. All right. So, Washington State agency accidentally installs an English-speaking AI with a thick Mexican accent for Hispanic callers. That is right. That is right. We got to listen to this guy down here. So, yes, if you press 2 to hear the instructions in Spanish, it was English with a deep Spanish accent. Now, this guy here is just a joke. We'll skip over that. But this is the actual call. Are you ready?
You have reached the driver licensing service line. If you are calling about a vehicle or boat, please press 1. Please press 1 for English.
2 para español. Tripla rúskava. So bom.
Thank you for calling the Department of Licensing Customer Support Center. For assistance with scheduling a driver licensing office appointment, canceling an existing appointment.
Oh, yeah, that just happened. So apparently Spanish means English with a thick Spanish accent. Oh, boy. Hey, Washington State. That's racist. Oh dear. So there you go. If you're up there in Washington State and you want to hear it in Spanish, just go ahead and click that and you'll hear it in English with a thick Mexican accent. Wonderful. All right, we're all waiting for the end of the world, but Polymarket will no longer let you bet on that. Polymarket stops letting people bet on when the nuclear bomb will be detonated. So nuclear detonation by when? 5% by March 31st. Get your affairs in order, folks. 11% by June 30th, or 22% before the end of 2027. Now, let me tell you what's particularly terrifying about this. Maybe prophetic, as it were, or falsely prophetic. It turns out that a lot of these weird Polymarket things that are showing up are actually being put out by people who have direct control over the things they're being bet on. Like there was one, for example, will Cardi B be on stage at the Super Bowl? And that bid was put out by a guy in charge of Cardi B's schedule. I bet she'll be on the schedule. What a coinky-dink she was. And there were a number of these cases that were actually found where there were actual insiders putting these up, basically making millions of dollars on things that weren't a bet. It wasn't a future prediction. It was something that was absolutely going to happen. Insiders knew about it, but let's go ahead and make a lot of money on it in the process. And if you ever wanted any other reason to ban all this nonsense, this Polymarket crap and all the cohorts like it, these are gambling. I know that we're not gambling. We are betting on speculations and futures. You're gambling. Stop it. Go to hell, people. Polymarket needs to be shut down. Shut down Polymarket and every other service like Polymarket. This stuff is decimating the world. And if they don't get rid of Polymarket, maybe, well, at least we can bet on when the nuke comes. And being as that somebody put this out, I have a sneaky suspicion this might be somebody in either OpenAI or the Department of War suggesting that, hey, let's make a little bit of money before the bomb goes. I don't know, folks. You tell me what you think. If you want to see more dystopian AI, I do have a book, 10 short stories on the dystopian side of AI. So this is Code Red. Anywhere you can buy books online, we have paperback, ebook, or audiobook versions of Code Red. You can get this page, which has the ISBN numbers and a few of the links. You can buy it other places in these links, but you can get a few of these links over at tlm.li/Code Red. Look for Code Red anywhere you can find a book online. Thanks for watching, and we will see you all next time.